Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this morning's session. Today, we're looking at part 2 of the VAT return webinars that we've been running. So we're looking at completing and submitting your VAT return. So essentially tab 3 of the VAT return wizard. If you didn't get a chance to attend part 1, you will find recordings of that one online. So on our recordings page, you'll see that, so you can see what tabs 1 and 2 look like. So how you can get from accessing the wizard to actually agreeing your figures and actually reconciling it. So that's where we're picking up from today's session. Right, a little bit of housekeeping during the session today. You will find if you've got a microphone that it is muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself during the session. If you've got any questions, just access the questions panel by clicking the little icon on your toolbar down the right hand side of your screen. It should expand the panel and you'll have access to that box in the bottom right hand corner. So any comments or questions that you might have, pop them in there and we'll try our best to pick those up. Today we're joined by Laura and Abby. They'll be on hand to try and answer those questions. So you may get a straightforward answer, you may get a link to maybe one of our help articles if that's already covered, or they may refer you to get in touch with our support team or even maybe HMRC or the revenue themselves. You can download a copy of today's slides if you want them. Now they're not detailed slides by any stretch of the imagination. If you want the detailed sort of step-by-step guides, then you will find that in our help centre. As usual, the session is being recorded. A link to the recording will be included on the follow-up email. We always send that around about an hour after we finish, so that will go automatically. So watch out for that one if you need a bit of a recap or you want to share it with your colleagues. We'll also include links so you can register for our upcoming webinars. We've got a new digital badge series starting next week, and that will cover corrections in Sage 50 accounts. So we'll look at a few different sessions on the corrections aspect of the software. So if you are interested, again, get yourself signed up for those. And also there is a link to our recordings page. So if you've missed any other sessions, you want a bit of a recap, then that's where you'll find them. Right, let's have a look at what we're covering in the part 2 of the VAT return session today. So we're going to start with a brief introduction and then really just get stuck into a demonstration again. So we're going to be looking at the 3 aspects of essentially the 3rd tab of the VAT return wizard. So there's 3 tasks on there that we're going to look at today. There's the VAT transfer, there's the submission itself, and then there's the option to record a payment or a receipt. So really easy to process those options. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Just at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support that's available. So if you are looking for that extra bit of help, help centres, fab resource, mention a little bit about the other webinars that we got planned in as well. But also, if there's any outstanding questions, we'll try our best to pick those up as well. Right, so let's get stuck in. So just to almost like a little bit of a recap of where we're up to in the VAT return wizard. So in part 1, which we run on Tuesday morning at 11, we covered steps 1 and 2 of the VAT return wizard. So preparing your VAT return, so where you took the backup, you specified your VAT quarter or whatever period you were running it for. We looked at the verification settings, the 7 or 8 that you're going to have, depending on your level of the software. Obviously calculating, and we looked at generating reports as well, but also the process of just clicking reconcile. When you click reconcile, that's when it generates the VAT return, it saves it to the VAT ledger, but it also takes you on to step 3, and this is where you've got the 3 tasks down the right hand side of the screen. Now, as you can see from the 2 screenshots, obviously we did this for the part 1 as well, so you can compare the 2. We've got the UK on the left and the Irish VAT return on the right. You can see that the process is pretty much the same. The big difference is the submission element. Obviously, we'll come on to that a little bit later on, but the rest of the steps essentially are exactly the same, no difference, and they do exactly the same as well. So let's get stuck in with a little bit of information about each one. So I'll introduce each one and then we'll go and demonstrate that one in the VAT return itself so you can see what that looks like. So we're going to start with VAT transfer or VAT transfer. So first of all, what does that option do? It's the first option that you'll see in step 3 of the VAT return wizard. So what does it actually do? Well, once you've reconciled your VAT return, what you want to do is post journals to transfer the reconciled VAT values from your sales and purchase tax control accounts to your VAT liability. Now, the idea is, obviously, as you enter sales transactions, the VAT element of that will show against the sales tax control account, which by default is 2200. For purchase transactions, it's going to show us against 2201, your purchase tax control account. So the idea is when you generate your VAT return and you reconcile it, you're going to post some journals to essentially transfer the reconciled VAT element out of those control accounts across to that VAT liability. And what you should be left with is on the VAT liability is what you owe or what you can recover. And what's left on the 2 control accounts is the VAT that you haven't yet accounted for. Now, if you've never done it before, and I'm sure there'll be people on the call, on the webinar today, that will say, well, actually, I've never done that. We'll come back to that a little bit later. But what you'll actually find is that if you've never been doing journals, whether manually or via the VAT transfer option, that you'll have, potentially you'll have accumulated values against your sales and your purchase tax control, and maybe even your VAT liability as well, if you've been posting your VAT payment or receipt against that liability account. So if you've never run it before, we're going to touch on that a little bit later once we've run through the process. Now, obviously there is a difference of what transfers. So again, we've got those documented. So where does it get the figures from? So for instance, in the UK, your box 1 will be the total VAT on sales. So the element that is journaled from your sales tax control account across to the VAT liability is essentially the box 1 figure. For the purchase tax control, it's the figure from box 4. And for Republic of Ireland, you've got the detail there as well. So I'm not going to go into the detail of that one. I'm just going to show you how it transfers them across and what options you've got. Now, there are 2 options for posting. That one is to do a manual journal, which I wouldn't really recommend because you don't need to do it. There is the VAT transfer option within the VAT return itself. But if you do want to post that, I suppose it gives you a little bit more control over the reference and the detail. But you just do a journal. So essentially you're debiting your VAT on sales or your sales liability nominal code, and you would put essentially you would credit the VAT liability, and then you would do similar journal for your VAT on purchases. So all you really need to do if you are doing a manual journal is ensure that the date is the end of your VAT period. It will pick that up automatically if you're doing it via the VAT transfer option itself. So you can do a journal. People do get obviously debits and credits mixed up. So even to just almost avoid that as well, I would encourage you to use the automatic option. The automatic option, you're literally going to click post journal and it'll do that journal for you. It'll show you the values. It'll show you the dates. It'll pick those up automatically. So it automatically uses that correct date and values. It'll post the journal for you. It'll get the debits and credits right for you. It is literally just a single click. It will also flag your VAT return and it'll grey out the option so that you can't do it a second time. Whereas if you were to do it manually, it would still allow you to come into the VAT return and click that post journal. So therefore you've got that, what's that duplication? Right, let's switch across to my screen and quickly look at it. This is one of the simplest options to actually demonstrate. So I'll open the VAT return. So this is the one that we reconciled and generated on Tuesday in part 1. And we got the VAT transfer option up here in the top corner here. So you can see it's picked up the relevant values. Obviously it's a UK VAT return I'm using. The VAT period, it agrees with that, automatically picks up the date that the VAT return runs up to. So it transfers that across for you. Your sales tax account, obviously it's pulled that through from box 1 with it being a UK return, and also the purchase tax amount, it's pulled that through from box 4. And all I need to do is click Post Journal. Couldn't be simpler, that one. Ticks the box, says it's transferred, and this option is grayed out then. Now what that means, what it's done in the background, one is that against the highlighted VAT return, the one we just looked at, in the VAT transferred, it will now have a Y to say, right, that has actually been completed, that one. You'll see the others, maybe historic ones where I didn't use that option, maybe I've done it manually, or maybe I've just not done it at all. They will have an N against it. But that one's now got a Y against it. And just to pick up on the transactions that are posted, we pop into the transactions list. We've got these, essentially these 4 journals at the end. So rather than just do one line against the VAT liability, it makes it a little bit easier to understand when you're looking at this. If you can see, in this case, the debit going to your sales tax control, that value being transferred to the VAT liability, and then the credit going to the purchase tax control, and then the debit going to the VAT liability. And what you'll be left with, obviously you've got 2 postings against that VAT liability, but the difference between the two is essentially either the liability that you owe or the amount that you can recover for VAT. So it's a nice simple journal, that one. It's a nice simple option, I should say. You just open your VAT return, so on step 3, and you would just click the button. You say, I can't do it again. I've completed that. So nice simple option, that one. Now, just to quickly answer a few questions, just in case you're thinking about asking these, pick up on some of the common questions. So what if you've never done this before? How do you know if you've done it before, either manually or automatically? So we looked at that very briefly. So what if you've never done it? But these are all common questions that people will ask our support team all the time, and kind of questions we get asked on these webinars as well. So let me just switch back to my screen for a moment. I'm just going to close out of that one. So when you look at your VAT return list, it's this VAT transferred column that we'll be interested in. So we've got N against some of the old VAT returns. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the VAT transfer hasn't been done. It means it hasn't been done by someone going into the VAT return itself and clicking the option, but it may have been done manually. If it has been done manually, that's fine. Just ignore this option. It's not going to cause you any problems. It just means that it will sit there with an N against it. If it's got a Y, it means it has been done. So it's nice and easy to see if you've done it using the automatic option. How do you know if you've done it manually? Well, the easiest thing would be to look at your nominal codes, probably find your VAT liability account, which if I just scroll down the list there to find it, and if I just look at the activity, it's easier to look at the activity from the VAT liability than one of the 2 control accounts. The 2 control accounts, you're going to have loads of transactions in there. So if you look at your VAT liability, you'll probably find you have a lot less in there. So have any journals actually been posted at the end of your VAT periods? You take it from that point. If not, chances are you haven't done it. If there are, then it has been done. I think the temptation, once I've mentioned this for a lot of people as well, is when you see an N against it, just to assume that it's never been done, and just to go into each of those VAT returns and click the button. So be careful, it may have been done manually. Another question, and final common question is, what if that VAT return is in a previous financial year? Well, if it was in a previous financial year, then it does mean that potentially it would have affected, or if it had been done at the time, your trial balance would give you slightly different figures to as if you'd posted that journal or the VAT transfer. So it will still allow you to do it. It won't prevent you from doing it unless potentially you might have the lock date option switched on, which the idea is to control who can and can't backdate transactions. So that might come into effect, but otherwise it will let you still post that. But overall, it's not going to have a big impact on your accounts at all. We'll still let you do it. So that's VAT transfer, nice easy one. Now, when we come to submit your VAT return, it is slightly different. So in the UK, your VAT return must be submitted online under Making Tax Digital, or what we term MTD. And that must be done direct to HMRC from your software. You can no longer submit that manually. In Ireland, you can't submit direct from CH50 accounts. Instead, it will generate an XML file. We'll come on to that one in a moment. And you will then, from that generated file, you'll be able to upload that to the Revenue online service. Now we'll deal with the UK first. So in the UK, to be able to submit online from your software, two things that you need to check. One is that within Settings, Company Preferences and the VAT tab, that you've got your VAT registration number entered. And also that Enable Making Tax Digital for VAT submissions is switched on. So those two settings. So again, to get to them, just Settings, Company Preferences, and the VAT tab. Now, if you do, for whatever reason, need to do a group submission, so if you've got a number of companies in CH50 accounts and you need to generate the VAT returns and then merge them and then make your submission, I've included the group VAT checklist for that one. So that will guide you through that process, including downloading the MTD module. Right, okay, let me just, now I've got at this stage, I've got a little video so you can see what that process looks like for UK submissions. So you'll be doing it direct from the VAT return itself. And it's just a case of clicking the button and following the little wizard through that, that appears. So I've got a little video of that process. Oh, just double check it. Okay, I'll bring up the right video. I'll set that playing. I'll come back to you live in just a couple of minutes. In this demonstration, we're going to show you the steps to submit your VAT return online. We join the demonstration where we're on step 3 of the VAT return, so it's already been reconciled, and we're ready to submit it online. So on the right hand side, we click Submit Online. The online submission wizard appears, and you click Next. Ensure that the correct company name and VAT registration number appears, and then click Next. An authority page appears, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you can then click Continue. You're then prompted to sign in with your Government Gateway user ID and password. Once entered, click Sign In. You then click Grant Authority. You'll then be prompted to choose your period, and it should default to the correct one. Just make sure this is correct, and then select the checkbox to say that you agree to the following HMRC declaration, and then click Submit to HMRC. Once completed, a congratulations message appears, indicating you successfully submitted your VAT return to HMRC. You click Close. You then return to the VAT return, and as you can see, the VAT return is now flagged as being submitted. Okay, so I'm back live with you at that point. So that was the process. And the screens may have changed a little bit, but the process of actually making that submission online is pretty much the same. You may see different colors, etc., on the pages, but the process of submitting your VAT return online, nice and straightforward. Now that's a UK return. For Ireland, it must be submitted manually. So when you reconcile your VAT return, if you're based in Ireland, you'll get to step 3. Basically, it's all about doing the manual submission at that point. Now, the software will generate an XML file. So it'll generate it into the VAT returns folder, which you can easily access by clicking that open folder option. And it's just a case of manually uploading that to the revenue online service. So again, you're not keying in your figures, you're uploading that file. Now, when you make a submission in the UK, essentially that submission is the VAT return itself is going to be flagged as having been submitted. For Ireland, once you've manually uploaded your XML file to the revenue online service, you just tick that box to say, right, I've now completed that step. Let's try and share my screens again. I think there's been a little bit of problem with that one. Just bear with me one moment. Yeah, I'll try that one again. Right, so let's start with Ireland again. So just to confirm, on the Irish VAT return, you will get that submission section. You will have an open folder option. So you've generated your VAT return, you've reconciled it, it takes you to step 3, and then you've got that. You'll have the option to open folder. So when you click that, it will generate you will bring up the VAT returns folder basically, and in there you will find your XML file for this VAT return period, and that's what you'll be able to manually upload to the revenue online service. So all you need to then do is tick that box to say you've submitted that. That's all you need to do. So again, nice and simple. For UK returns, it will flag the VAT return as having been submitted. So we'll do that automatically for you. Now we're just going to quickly pop back to my screen for a moment. I select the right option. And what we'll have is, once it has been online, so what you'll see in the status column, when it hasn't been submitted, it'll just say pending. If you go into it and you submit it online, essentially this little checkbox will automatically be ticked for you. If you're in Ireland, you'll need to manually do it. And what will then happen is this will say submitted. Now, if you've got any that say pending, just make sure you have submitted them. I'm not saying do it again. I'm saying just make sure you've submitted them. So have you actually submitted a VAT return for that period? It may be, if you've got all the ones that say pending, that maybe at the time, like if prior to in the UK MTD being introduced, you might have VAT returns on there. In that sort of scenario, you may have actually have been just logging into your government gateway account and manually entering your figures. So all you need to do in that situation is, again, find the relevant return, open it, and again, just tick the box if you have submitted that online. So it's just something to be aware of. So if you've got all the ones that say pending, nothing really to worry about. Probably you just need to open them, tick the box to say, right, we have actually done that. Right, let's pop back to the slides. And then we're going to pick up on the final option. So the final option, the third option on that tab, is to either record your payment or receipt. Now, this is a nice simple option. A lot of it is already filled in for you. And this is going to be the same no matter whether you're based in UK or Ireland. It's the same process. So we'll pop across to my screen, quickly run through that one as well. Now, if we open the VAT return, and it's this option here. Now, this will say record payment. if there is a positive liability figure. So on a UK return, that's in box 5, so it's positive. If it was a negative figure, meaning I'm in a position where I can recover an amount from, with a UK return, recover an amount from HMRC, then it would show us this negative value. And in which case, this would say record receipt. Well, you probably find the majority, you will owe VAT in some way or another. Right, now some of you will have this option. You might have e-banking enabled. Others, you probably don't. Now, a lot of this information is already entered for me, and some of you may actually just do this manually. You may think, well, actually I need to record the value of my payments to HMRC, for instance, or ROS, and you think, right, I'll just go into the bank accounts area and I'll record that. Yeah, that's a valid way of doing it. If you do it manually, just come in and say, right, I'm going to mark that as paid. But if you're doing it from this screen, a lot of the information is already filled in for you. So choose the bank account that the money will be paid out of. It may be taken by direct debit. So just choose the account that the money will be taken out of. The date of the transaction. I'll just use today's date. Now, some people will use the last day of the VAT quarter, but I think better option, actually choose the date when the money will be taken itself. It means that if you integrate with things like bank feeds, that type of thing, it will match up. So pop in your date, pop in your reference. So your reference will be your VAT registration number. So I've just got loads of 9s entered in my case. So it'll pull that through for you automatically. You can change it if needed. You've got your details, which just says VAT payment. And then it's got the amount in there as well. So in this case, with it being a UK, it equates to the value in box 5. Now, all you need to do is then click Post Bank Payment. It is literally that simple. Now, it does give me a message just because I'm beyond the end of the financial year on this set of data, so just ignore that. You put chances are you won't get that. But other than that, that's it done. It ticks the box, so I can't then come in and actually do that again in error. Other than that, that's that process complete. So that's how you post your VAT transfer, you make your submission, and you record either your payment or your receipt. Nice and easy. Any questions at all? If you've got any final questions, if you want to pop them in there. So remember, we've got Abby and Laura on hand to answer those questions. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, you can download them at this point. Do take that opportunity. They're not available afterwards, but you will find the detailed step-by-step guides available from our help centre. Now, I shared this link with you, or shared the links with you on Tuesday. Our help centre is split into different regions for VAT. So when you access the help centre, navigate to the VAT area, you will be able to choose Great Britain, Northern Ireland, or Republic of Ireland. It will obviously surface the regional specific information for you. So do take that do take that opportunity to get them if you want them. Pippa, you mentioned there, presumably you only post the payment once it has been paid or received. Some people like to do it straight away. Others, you'll actually wait. Now, remember, loads of webinars available as well. As we mentioned at the start of the session, we've got our corrections digital badge series starting on Tuesday next week. So again, get yourself signed up for those. The link is included on your follow-up email if you do want that. Just while the final few questions are being picked up, let me quickly thank you for attending. Hope you have enjoyed it. We tried to finish a little bit quicker today. rather than try and drag it out. So we've tried to get through that and frees up a little bit of your time. If you can take a minute to complete the survey, that should pop up as you leave today's session. That would be greatly appreciated. Thoughts on the webinar, ideas for webinars going forward, suggestions on how we can improve them, topics you'd like to see covered, do let us know. If you can take that minute to complete that survey, that'd be greatly appreciated. Your follow-up email will be with you in round about an hour's time, so do watch out for that and do get yourself registered for some of those webinars that we've got planned in for the next couple of weeks. Send through. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right there. You mentioned, can you get the link for VAT Part 1 and 2 on your follow-up email? It will include the links that you require. But again, there are recordings available so that you can watch those again if required. Right, I think the questions are just about dried up, so we'll end the webinar just at that point. Many thanks for coming along. Hope you've enjoyed it. You found it useful. Hope it improves your knowledge a little bit and you're feeling a little bit more confident as well. And we hope to see you on some other webinars very, very soon. Many thanks.